Hello and welcome into your 2019 first round Game 7 Bruins Maple Leafs Bruins fan review. And man, was this not really what I expected. I expected it to be a little tighter down the stretch. I kind of did favor the Bruins going into this one, but I thought the Leafs would have a little more fight in them, and it just didn't seem that way going down the stretch. But before I get deeper into this game, I'd first like to say this is also doubling as a Columbus-Boston preview. And when I say that, it's mainly because I'm recording this at 4:05 p.m. right now. Game 1 is at 7 p.m. There's literally only a day between Game 7 of the last series and Game 1 of this upcoming series. So I didn't have as much time. Yesterday was my 21st birthday, so I wasn't around at all yesterday, so I don't have time. For time's sake, it's going to be a short little preview of that after I go over Game 7. But Bruins win 5-1 in Game 7. Shots 33-32 in favor of Toronto, actually. As you can see, Toronto outshot us in every period but the third, but it wasn't by a lot except for Period 2. Period 2 was kind of a blemish on the Bruins because I thought Periods 1 and Periods 3, they were the better team. I thought Period 2, Toronto was a much more aggressive team, and you could tell that they wanted it and they were playing for it. Face-off percentage even. As you can see, the Bruins shot 32 times and scored on 27 of them. Frederik Andersen was pulled for 2 of those, so that goaltending percentage right there I think is actually a little off. But nonetheless, I like these pictures that I took from the highlights at the end of the game. You got Marchand and Tavares pregame looking very intense, knowing that their teams need to win this game. And it was feeling like this could be a 0-0 game pretty deep into the first period. And then out of nowhere, Frederik Andersen with the gift. Joachim Nordstrom gets the puck on the line. You can see that in the bottom left, and he shoots it right at Frederik Andersen's stomach. And it somehow gets through there. I'm not sure if he twitched a little off the post and it just found a way in. But Joachim Nordstrom just squeezes it through there. And as you can see, Grizzly, with his 4th assist in the series, quietly racking up some points there. But that was a really bad sign for the Leafs fans, and you gotta wonder, Leafs fans, what would have happened if that goal hadn't gone in? Where would the game have gone? Because Frederik Andersen was good in this series, but if he makes that save, that could change the whole complexion of the game. Because it was honestly a gift. Good on Joachim Nordstrom for putting a puck on the net. I have had an issue with the Bruins and how reluctant they are to shoot, but there he puts it on net, and you get rewarded sometimes when you just put it on net. Then minutes later, I want to say, 3 minutes later, the Scandinavian attack, as Jack Edwards said. Another Scandinavian gets on the board, this time Marcus Johansson, and I really wish I could have found a good screenshot of Jake Gardiner getting the turning it over behind his own net. He went for a little reverse up the boards, but it was really to no one when he was getting pressured by Carson Kuhlman. Remember that. Some of these goals aren't always created by people on the score sheet. Carson Kuhlman creates this opportunity for Johansson to pick up the puck behind the net. He takes out front to the lower circle, as you can see in the top right, and fires it past Frederik Andersen. You also see the puck. It kind of blends in with the post in that top right, but he fires it past. Kind of a screen in front by, I want to say that's Coyle. Yeah, that's Coyle. And it just finds the post and goes in. And I was starting to think, are we going to blow them out? Because I was wondering if it was going to be a snowball effect. I really was. But early into the second period, John Tavares, and this was the Leafs' most dangerous period, John Tavares capitalizes off of a great hustle play by Tyler Ennis to force a turnover on John Moore on the boards. John Moore's got to get the puck more firm on his stick and be able to play it out. He kind of lost it, kind of fumbled it. Good pressure by Ennis to create that. Tavares takes it to the circle, and Tavares has a wicked shot, and he beats Tuukka Rask. But I thought Tuukka Rask should have had the save, to be honest. Hits Tuukka. If it hits you as a goalie, you should probably make the save. That's something I have. I'm not a goalie, never played goalie. But I kind of think Tuukka should have this one, and lucky that it wasn't too big of a momentum switch. Now, for the rest of the second period, the Bruins were being outplayed, or so it felt like from my perspective, and they were lucky not to concede another one. I was really happy going into the third up 2-1. It was kind of different to think. This is the first time in the 3 Game 7s, the 3 most recent Game 7s between the Leafs and the Bruins, that the Bruins had a lead going into the third. They were up 2-1. They were down 4-1 in Game 7 of 2013, I want to say. I could be wrong. It could have been 3-1. But they were down 4-1 at one point in that game. They were going into the third down. And then last year, they were down 4-3 going into the third period of Game 7. And then they scored 4. And then In 2013, you obviously know they came back. So a little bit different of a position to see going into the third. That's all I was trying to get to there. Could have said that a lot shorter, but I didn't. But early in the third period, man, this goal was a backbreaker. And this guy who scored this goal for the Bruins, he's just got the clutch gene. And that's Sean Kuraly, man. If you do not love Sean Kuraly and you're a Bruins fan, you are a casual or you are not paying attention to what you are seeing on the TV when this guy plays. He doesn't play a ton of minutes, but when he's out there, you can tell he just brings an energy to the ice. I'm actually looking to see what his minutes were last night. Kuraly's minutes were 11:48, and he's full value for those 11:8. Last night, he got a goal and an assist. None of those points came on the empty netters. He got an assist on the first goal, and he got this goal as well. But he splits the two Leaf players, Hainsey and Tavares at middle ice off of a kind of broken play in the neutral zone between Nordstrom and Chari, and they got kind of gift assist here because Kuraly just has very good speed for a depth player. Takes it straight through them, takes on the Leafs defender right there. I can't tell who he is because my picture is a little too blurry for me to tell. I want to say it was Morgan Riley, though. And he shoots it and beats Frederik Andersen top shelf. Wicked shot, wicked skating ability by Sean Kuraly to break between these two Leafs players, get the shot off, and puck's on net, man. He knew he had no option. It was literally shoot or lose the puck. So he puts it on and he puts it top shelf. Beautiful shot. Sean Kuraly breaks the back of the Leafs pretty early into the third. And I really didn't feel too threatened by the Leafs for the rest of this period. There's very few times in this third period where the Leafs felt dangerous. And eventually the Bruins were able to grind them out, take it down to the wire, Leafs pull their goalie, and Chuck Coyle gets the goal in the top right. Patrice Bergeron with literally a second on the clock, bangs one in. They didn't drop the puck for the face-off after this, which is kind of strange to me. I was kind of laughing because I'm like, they're going to have to drop the puck. And the Bruins pull out the 5-1 Game 7 win to move on to the second round. And I'm going to be honest with you, this is an extremely sweet victory just because of all the media coming into the season saying it's the Leafs' year to finally take over. I'm pretty sure they were top 3 in betting odds, and the Bruins were like top 10, which, you're only top 10. Tough life you have, Boston sports fan. But, you felt a little disrespect because the Leafs hadn't proven anything yet. They signed Tavares, and they got Muzzin, and the Bruins got some key players back that they didn't have last year, like Carlo. Good acquisitions like Coyle. They got Johansson. Like, the Bruins got better than they were last year. Their young players got better, like McAvoy, Carlo, DeBrusque, Heinen. But all we were hearing about is Marner, Matthews, Kapanen. Like, it really felt like there was a lot of favoritism to the Leafs young players getting better and lack of acknowledgement to the Bruins young players getting better. And it was a little disrespectful in a way. But I got where Leafs fans were coming from because you had every reason to be very excited about your young, talented team. But I felt like there was a little bit of a turning a blind eye to the Bruins' young talent because the Bruins do have older vets, but they also have young talent on the team that are only getting better, like Matt Grizzly, for example, just key depth players. Defensively, they're so good in young, minus Char defensively. I believe Char is the only defenseman tonight who's over the age of 30 years old, and he's a good ways over 30 years old. But just a really strong Game 7 performance, and I was worried about that because coming into this game, you didn't really know what Bruins team was going to show up. Every time the Bruins won, they seemed to have not shown up in full form the next night. They had not won 2 games in a row up until this point in the series. Going into Game 6 down 3-2, I was very pessimistic. I did not think the Bruins were going to win that game. They won Game 6, and I was like, I think they can win Game 7. Home ice didn't seem to take big effect, but it kind of felt like it did tonight. And with that being said, congratulations to the Leafs on a great season. Now, you may take that as a little bit of a sly remark and me being rude, but no, you guys were better this year than you were last year. If anyone was paying attention this year as a Bruins fan closely to the Leafs, you would know this is a more legit team this year in the Leafs than the Leafs last year. The Leafs getting to Game 7 last year almost felt kind of fluky in that they were living on the wire last year once they went down 3-1. And it was impressive that they fought back. But this one felt like a Leafs team that could command a lead better. They had a little more fight to them. They had a little more belief in them. And I'm not saying they will beat the Bruins next year if they face each other in the playoffs. But obviously, these series go to 7 games, so obviously it wouldn't be beyond belief to say the Leafs next year will take that step in the right direction. But they do have to prove it. When you're thinking about picking the Leafs to win, they have to prove it before you can truly believe it. And I know you can project and all that, but really you got to see it to believe it. And the Leafs still have yet to prove that in the first round. And still, they're an extremely young team. And Leafs fans, you might not win against us next year in the playoffs. You face us, might not even win the year after. But eventually, with all the young talent you have, as long as you can restore it, and I think you guys eventually will get better defensively, you will get to the second round. Now, I know that might sound... That's not the goal, obviously. The goal is the cup. But baby steps. You got to get to the second round, then you got to get to the third, then you got to get to the Stanley Cup final. And you guys just haven't found it yet. But sometimes it takes time. It's not 1 or 2 years because, let's be real, you guys have only been a real playoff team for 2 years. That year against the Capitals, no. You guys were just happy to be there type of people. This is only your second real shot at the can in winning a playoff series. You're still extremely early on, so don't get too upset and too down on your Leafs because you guys will be around for a while. That being said, let's look at the stats here. As you can see, Frederik Andersen and Tuukka Rask both top 6 in save percentage. Not a whole big margin between them. I'd say Tuukka was more consistent, though. I will say that. Whereas Frederik Andersen had a lot more spectacular saves and all that. But you got to do what you got to do, and Tuukka did what he had to do a little bit better than Frederik Andersen did in this series. As you can see, the Bruins' power play, and this is something the Leafs have to work on next season. Maybe fire a coach, bring in someone else to teach them how to kill the penalties. 43.8%. That's unacceptable if you're a Leafs fan. Looking at that from Bruins fans' perspective, extremely good power play this series. A little shoddy at times, but 43.8%. I can only complain so much. By the way, Game 7, not a single power play for the Bruins. Didn't matter. As you can see, the Leafs only 18.8% on the power play. That's kind of low for them, especially with how good it was in the regular season. As you can see, for points leaders for the Leafs, Austin Matthews, who had a coming out party in the playoffs. His first playoffs, where he was pretty dominant for times in the period. Not all the time, but he had his moments where you were like, wow, we're really going to have to focus on stopping Austin Matthews. Some ridiculous goals off the shot. The guy's got an amazing shot. Top 5 in the league, I'd say. Tavares, 2 goals, 3 assists, 5 points. He was always matched up against the first line. Very good performance by Tavares defensively, and he put up some points in the process. Morgan Rielly, 5 points in 7 games. Morgan Rielly is a very good defenseman, and I say that because in the past I've criticized him as being an offensive defenseman who isn't that good in the defensive zone. I think he's the Leafs' best all-around defenseman offensively when you combine defense. I think Jake Muzzin isn't too far behind because of how good he was defensively. I think everything beyond that needs a lot of work, though. That's really where the Leafs struggled. Mitch Marner, 4 points in 7 games. It felt like in the back half of the series, Mitch Marner was kind of a non-factor. And that's unacceptable from a star player who's going to command a lot of money in this offseason. Yes, he was in a defensive role, but, I mean, you need Mitch Marner to be putting up a point per game if you want to beat the Bruins. In my mind, at least, that's what I thought. Andreas Johnson had some great games and is a good depth player, and you're going to want to get him on a good salary so he can stick around with you. That's a player to keep. Travis Dermott, still very young. Maybe the third most important player for the Leafs to keep on the defensive side besides Muzzin and Rielly. I like Dermott. Nylander, 3.7 games. It's going to be interesting to see how he plays under his contract next year. Kapanen, you want to keep him. Young, good player. Kadri, I'm not going to get into that too much, but you really got to decide if you want to keep a player who might not even be there for you in the playoffs. Muzzin already talked about. Gardner's gone. I'm almost positive of that. And Patrick Marleau, a lot more minutes than a lot of Leafs fans wanted, but I think Marleau, he's probably on borrowed time. As for the Bruins, Marchand, 9.7 games, dominant, extremely good player. Marchand, great series. Pastrnak, 6 and 7, a little shaky at times, but loved what I saw from Pastrnak as a Bruins fan for the most part. Bergeron, stud 2-way player, 5 points in 7 games. Like the points to be a little bit higher going forward. Hopefully tonight in Columbus he can pick up a few. Krejci, extremely underrated player. Coyle, 4 points in 7 games. Love Chuck Coyle. Making me forget all about Ryan Donato because I was kind of skeptical on that trade at the time, but so far, Coyle has proved me wrong. Grzelcyk, 4 points in 7 games, our top scoring defenseman. Matt Grzelcyk, extremely underrated defenseman for the Boston Bruins. Joakim Nordstrom, 3 points in 6 games. Joakim the Dream is a very good depth player for us so far, and I hope that continues. McAvoy, young stud, 3 points in 7 games. Extremely good 2-way player in this series. Love Charlie McAvoy. Danton Heinen, 3 points in 7 games. Like Danton Heinen. Char got that goal from the point that really helped us in that game. I believe that was game 5. Sorry for hitting my table there. DeBrusk with 2 and 7. That's unacceptable. That needs to go up. Sean Kuraly, 2 and 3 games from a 4th-line role, man. Sean Kuraly is legit. And that's just me going over my thoughts on the points. Obviously, there's some players on the Bruins that need to perform better going forward. As for the Leafs, keep your head up. You guys will be back next year, and you have a very good shot to go far next year as well. And you did this year, too. You beat us. For all you know, you could go to the Cup final. It's wide open. You're not far away, so I wouldn't change too much if I was a Leafs manager or whatever. If I was Kyle Dubas, I wouldn't change much. I'd kind of rerun it and go back in with as many of the same people as I can. Maybe try to shore up the right side of your defense. And I know I'm talking a lot about the Leafs for Bruins video, but the Leafs season's over. I'm going to be able to talk about the Bruins for weeks to come, hopefully. Moving on to the next round. That being said, really happy winning the first round. That is the bare minimum the Bruins could do to keep me happy. And anything else is gravy. And that's what I thought before I saw that we were playing Columbus. You have to make the conference finals. Anything less now, I think, is kind of unacceptable. I think you got to make the conference finals. No slide to Columbus here. Change slides. But if your thought process is you are the second best team in the East. If Tampa wasn't in your way, you could go to the Cup. Well, now Tampa's gone. You can go to the Cup. You should go to the Cup. I know that's a big thing to say, and it's not easy, and it's not unacceptable to not do, but conference finals, with the way the brackets panned out, is what I want. If you got eliminated in the conference finals, I would be pretty happy with what you've done this season. I'd look back on this season and man, that was a great season. Tampa Bay fell, crazy playoffs. We just couldn't get it done in the conference finals. I really think you need to win this for me to be happy about the season. I'm okay with what the season's been. If I want to be happy, you got to make it to the conference finals. If I want to be extremely happy, Stanley Cup finals. And as you can see from the bracket in the bottom left corner, the Bruins, on paper, and I'm going to say this, are the best team on paper left. Now, you can argue the Sharks, I think, because of goaltending, I slightly give the edge to Boston. The other teams, man, Avs weren't expected. Blues weren't expected. Stars weren't expected. I mean, the Blues were freaking last place in December in the whole league. Columbus was facing Tampa. Never has won a playoff series before. Islanders lose Tavares, and now they're here. What? Carolina, first time in the playoffs in 10 years. Stars, they've been on and off a playoff team in a weak Western Conference, and pretty impressed with what they did to Nashville. It's just a very weird-looking bracket. And I know, you'd say, upsets. That's just going to continue. I'm not sure that's the case here. But I don't really know what to predict here. Game 1's tonight, which is absurd to me that we get a day off. I feel like we should be playing tomorrow more so than today. But with the way the other series panned out, I guess that wasn't the case. Game 1 tonight, Game 2 Saturday. My only conflict in schedule is Game 5. But as for previewing my thoughts, Columbus is a very, very deep team. I have their lines right here, actually. You got Dubois, great center, great young center. This guy's like 2021. Bjorkstrand, very solid winger who not a lot of Bruins fans will probably know. You got Artemi Panarin, who is a superstar. I think he's the best forward in the series, barring maybe Patrice Bergeron if he's on, but Panarin can really take over games. Matt Duchene, very, very good second-line center. Cam Atkinson, 40-goal scorer this year. Ryan Dzingel, I think he got 30 this year. Then you go to the third line. Nick Foligno, the captain, very good two-way player. Josh Anderson, a bitch of a power forward to defend. Alexandre Teixeira, a young Frenchman, rookie. He actually had to force his way into the lineup. I've heard good things, have not seen a lot from him. Fourth line is sneaky good with Riley Nash, former Bruin, Boone Jenner, and Brandon Dubinsky. They can roll all four lines if they want to, and that's a typical Tortorella thing to see. You don't have an easy assignment no matter who you're facing, but I think the Bruins forward core I like better than Columbus. Where I get a little iffy on it, I barely like them better than Columbus. I don't think it's vastly in favor of the Bruins. I just think I'd rather have my Bruins. Defensive pairings, this is where you might lean Columbus a little. Werenski and Jones, extremely good. David Savard, who had a very good first round. Actually, I lied. I would not take this defensive pairing. Is someone injured? Ryan Murray and Nudavara is injured. That's why it looks worse. Dean Kukan is decent. Scott Harrington and Glenn Denning, decent. I actually lied. I'd take the Bruins decor over this. I thought it was better before I looked at it. So I think it's pretty decent advantage for the Bruins defensive core, and I think it's a slight. I'm actually going to call it a draw. I'm going to call it a draw between the forward cores because this Columbus team is deeper than us on the forward sides. But defensive pairings, I think the Bruins take it. I think the top end talent of the Bruins is slightly better though. As for goalies, it's really a wash between Bob and Tuukka. Bobrovsky's had some issues in the past with being good in the playoffs, but the win against Tampa might just give him the confidence to really put that behind him. Tuukka has been solid and has given you no reason as a Bruins fan to be concerned with him yet. Keyword there, yet. I'm confident in Tuukka going into this series. If I had to make a prediction, Bruins in 7. I'm going to give them that edge because I think the teams are a lot closer than a lot of Bruins fans think. I think the way Columbus played under Tortorella is a very tight team, a team that is pretty dynamic too. Seth Jones could be the X factor here if he really puts on and plays like a top 10 defenseman, which I think he is in this league easily. Werenski, very good defenseman as well. It's going to be interesting to see how they do with Ryan Murray's injury. I'm wondering how bad that is, actually. I'm going to type that into Roto World right now. Roto World, Ryan Murray. Because he's a pretty good player for them. Roto World, just loading. Ryan Murray's feeling better lately. There's no timetable for Murray's return. Wait and see. So they don't know when he's going to be back or if he's playing. So, anyway, that being said, I think Bruins in 7. I think they're a better team on paper. I think Columbus could pull the upset off. Wouldn't be the most shocking thing in the world. I mean, look at what they did at Tampa. 9 days off. I expect the Bruins to win Game 1. And that if Columbus is legitimately that good of a team to what they did against Tampa, they'll probably show it more in Game 2, 3, and 4. Because that long a delay, I expect them to start a little late. But that being said, congrats on the Leafs on a great season. You guys will get better. Columbus, good luck in this series going forward. I think the Bruins are slightly better than you, but prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. As for that, I hope you enjoyed my video today. A little bit longer than I usually do. Really fun series against the Leafs. If you're a hockey fan, you can't be upset with what you were given entertainment-wise. Just looking from a neutral perspective. You had the Carnival of Game 2. You had both teams showing you their best performances, specifically the Leafs in Game 1, I think, and then the Bruins in Game 6 was probably... No, Game 7... I don't know. The Bruins had a few, but I think the Leafs clearly had the most dominant performance. But I thought the Bruins had some pretty good performances where they were the better team. At the end of the day, I think the better team won the series. I think it's going to be very interesting to look at the Bruins Maple Leafs rivalry going forward. And now we're on to the second round, and hopefully we can go further than that. Go Bruins. Hit the like button if you like the video. Comment down below any thoughts or anything I might have missed. Long video. I kind of do this with limited notes and everything, so if I missed on it is possible. Hit the subscribe button if you like my coverage. Thank you, and I hope you follow me the rest of the way in the playoffs. And go Bruins. Peace.